Hello everyone and welcome back to Recall Gaming and welcome back to another edition of the Recall Files. Now, as you can see, we are once again on Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, and I promise you that episode 8 will not be on Metal Gear. I just needed something to get us through the current episodes, but I'll work hard next week to make sure it's not Metal Gear again, because I appreciate some of you might not want to watch that. The Red Faction and the Titanfall 2 ones did really well, so don't worry, I will listen to you, but on this one we're doing a side op. This is Intel Operative Rescue. I did say we'd do some side ops on Ground Zeroes, so it's not completely left field, but I think after MGS2 last week we'll definitely get something different. It's just finding the stuff that I haven't sort of already covered. You know, Call of Duty would sort of be perfect. Maybe we could do Red Faction again, but who knows? Maybe we could do the next 30 minutes of Red Faction is what I'm thinking, but I'll find something and I'll make sure it's a bit more varied. But this side op is a little bit different, because obviously Metal Gear is this great stealth series, but this level is not stealthy in the slightest. That you can't do any stealth. It is, you know, it's very much designed for you to use this assault rifle with the underbarrel grenade launcher and blow everything up. It's for you to get all your frustration. Every time you've been spotted and every time an enemy's pissed you off, you're meant to play this off, I think, to get those frustrations out. Now, because I go for the S rank, I'm going for non-lethal just to at least show off a little bit. And in doing so, I'm going to look like a terrible gamer because my aim with this stun pistol is atrocious. But I do get through the level, and that is what ultimately matters. And, you know, if you give me a few goes with this, then I'll be able to, you know, I'll be able to do really well with it, because there was a time I could play this level, like, you know, 9 and 10 years ago, and I was like hot shit with this pistol, without bragging, you know, like I could pull this shot off because I just knew its trajectory and how it worked. I obviously don't know that now. And little thing, there are these little they're like Easter Island or something they're called, the big statues. Actually, I do hit it, but you actually need to use the assault rifle to get them. There's like a few hidden in the map. There's nothing, no reward as far as I know of getting them. It's just like a trial thing. It's kind of goofy stuff that Metal Gear does, but you know, back on the old ones, you probably would have got something for that. But yeah, as you can see, I can't shoot any barrels, which is annoying. I mean, I can't remember, but on MGS3 and MGS4, shooting a barrel, even with a lethal weapon, would not count as a kill. I don't know if that applies in MGS5 Ground Zeroes, or the main game for that matter, so I just play it safe. Maybe we could do some actual MGS5, maybe that would be good for a recall file. But yeah, I'll try and stay clear of Metal Gear, because as much as I love Metal Gear Solid, I've got to appreciate not everyone wants to be all over the channel. But yeah, Recall Gaming's going pretty strong at this moment in time, as we're about to rescue a high asset for some reason. We're not too sure what he's about and why he's so important, but we might find out at the end of the level. We shall see. Those who know obviously know what I'm referring to. Those who don't, we're probably not going to have a clue anyway, so it's completely lost on them. But yeah, Recall Gaming's going pretty strong at the minute. You know, if you please consider checking out the other projects on the channel, Uncharted 2, Red Faction 2. I know, pretty random games, isn't it, for 2024, playing it from 2002 and 2009. Although I've got that the wrong way around, haven't I? Uncharted 2 is 2009. But I'm really enjoying, you know, all the series that we're doing right now. The channel's going strong, and my shooting gets a little bit better here, but that's because enemies are pretty stationary. But yeah, the side ops. Let's talk about Ground Zeroes here. Now we've done enough self-promotion. Ground Zeroes itself is some of these side ops are actually really challenging and interesting. Now, if you've not seen the first 2 episodes of Recall Files, we did the main level, the Ground Zeroes level, the main base game. Basically, we did it on hard difficulty with no tagging, no reflex. A lot of those parameters are on this level, as you'll notice that none of the enemies are being tagged. This is on hard difficulty, I believe, by the way, or is it on normal? I can't remember. I think it's on hard. I can't honestly remember. So I'll have a look at the end. I think it tells you, doesn't it? But anyway, going back to what I was saying, we did the main level on hard with no tagging, no reflex, but more crucially, we didn't use the trank gun, and obviously we went for no kills. It's a challenge that I tried years and years ago on another channel way back when, another lifetime ago now. I sort of did it in preparation for MGS5, and I did a lot better that time. But what was fascinating to me is that I sort of made a strategy back then, about 9 years ago, that I thought was pretty perfect for the challenge I was doing. And then when I replayed it for this, that strategy had to go out the window. I just couldn't replicate it. And I ended up finding a whole new way of going into the base, you know, because usually I used to go in the back of the truck and sort of sneak in without doing little work, and then I had to completely, you know, rejuvenate the whole strategy and do a different way, and it just incredibly just sort of rejuvenated my love for this game. More so its mechanics, because the game isn't perfect. The game's got a lot of issues in terms of its price point and length, but obviously some 10 years on from its release, those factors aren't there anymore because you're not paying the price that you would have done back then. You can get this game incredibly cheap now, so the length of it isn't that bad. But yeah, it just sort of rediscovered, you know, rediscovered is not the right term, is it? It sort of like retold me just how special this game can be and how good Kojima can nail his stuff at times, because, you know, it's an incredibly replayable game even now, and I never know if the main ops of MGS5 ever reached that level. I know the first proper op where you have to rescue cows in Afghanistan, that can play out a number of ways, but I don't know if that extends to like all, I think there was 50 in total, but there was like really only about 34 or something that were actual proper individual missions. The rest were a lot of them repeats. Boss fights probably can't play out in that many different ways because it's probably the weakest Metal Gear for boss fights. That is something that, you know, as the series went on, it just really gradually declined. MGS3 definitely had the best boss fights in it. MGS1 probably had the best lineup. 2 was a little weaker, but all the first 3 games were solid, and then 4's boss fights were pretty weak. The last one was awesome, along with fighting Metal Gear Ray with Metal Gear Rex. That was also totally awesome. And then Peace Walker, pretty boring and dull as well. I actually thought Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops had better boss fights than Peace Walker. I love Portable Ops. I'd love to play that again someday. And then, of course, MGS5, the game we got onto. Yeah, boss fights were really poor. There was no human boss fights, was there? Like, at all. I think Death Stranding had better boss fights, and Death Stranding kind of shied away from it. It's something that Kojima seems less and less interested in as game philosophy's gone on. It's an interesting thing to look at. I mean, Death Stranding is a fascinating game. I played Death Stranding. I didn't actually buy it at launch. I got it a few months later, and I think I played it in like December 2019, January 2020, and it is one of the most surreal, maybe is the term, one of the most incredible gaming experiences I've ever had. It's not the best game I've ever played, but it's definitely probably the most unique, along with something like LA Noire. Really not played anything like Death Stranding, and nor will I ever think I will. And it's funny because people, obviously, walking simulator is a term that gets used a lot now, and that game actually had mechanics to its walking, unlike, you know, that main criticism that gets levied at a lot of Naughty Dog games, particularly a la Last of Us and games onwards. Last of Us is hardly the worst offender. You know, there's plenty of modern games now that have these horrible walking sections where there is just no gameplay to it. It might as well be a cutscene, but it's all about immersion and the player being in one frame, and it's not good gameplay. You know, people seem to like it for some reason. I've never been a fan. I'd much prefer 20 cutscenes that I can skip over a 5-minute walking sequence, which I can't skip, as we've got to get this operative out of here just as a tank shows up to ruin our day. But we're going to take him out nice and easy. So this is technically really a kill, because there'll be gunners in here, but I guess that's Metal Gear laws. If you're in a tank, you deserve to die. That's how it works. But yeah, there was genuine walking mechanics. Walking wasn't simple. You had to balance yourself, and it was, I don't know, it's not for everyone, Death Stranding. I'll put that out there right now. But if you're willing to put yourself in the zone where you're willing to try something different, and you know you're not going to be playing a shooting game or really an action game, and you're just willing to proper immerse yourself in a game, Death Stranding is one of the best games you can ever play. Those moments where that music, you know, the music tunes up, and you know, you discover a new area. I'll never forget going up the mountain. You had to transport some delivery over a mountain in like the snowy mountains, and the first time you saw like the snow, and you know, I felt like I was Rocky Balboa in Rocky 4, like gonna shout Drago when I got to the top, and the music was just so good. And yeah, it's a really special game. And the point I wanted to get onto is that game had some boss fights, and it did actually have a bit of a fist fight with the character that Troy Baker plays. Was it called Higgs? I think it was called Higgs, wasn't it? Yeah, and that was actually pretty cool. I mean, the boss fights against Mads Mikkelsen were awesome. That each took place in a World War I, a World War II, and a Vietnam setting, sort of America's, very much, I'll stress, America's big three wars. I mean, the first World War I and World War II are like everybody's big wars, but, you know, Vietnam's obviously consigned to America. But yeah, they were fascinating, and the story, it was for what it was, for what it's worth, I did quite enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, it definitely heightens the need that Kojima needs an editor. Like, he definitely probably had one for him just 1, 2, and 3. Some of his writing can be spotty at times, and it doesn't quite have the charm of Metal Gear to make it work all the time, but he nails it, and he gets some damn good actors to do voice lines. I mean, the guy who played Die Hard, man, who's called that because his name's John McClane, I think, isn't it? Strange name. Oh, check out my embarrassing shooting here, by the way. You can't hit this guy until the allotted moment, annoyingly. It's annoying. At least with this stun gun, I'm sure you've got to wait until you line up. It has to be all dramatic as the radio tower gets blown up. But as I was saying, he nailed it with his casting choices. I don't know if that's Kojima himself or somebody, but yeah, definitely. If you're in the mood, try Death Stranding, because you'll never play anything like it ever again, and it's an experience that will sit with you. I've no desire to ever play it again. It's a game I think you'll only really want to play once, but what a time you will have with it. Really special. And it will put you in an introspective mood, even if you're not feeling in the mood beforehand. It'll do that to you. But here you go, here's the big shot. You have to always aim quite ahead here because the bullets take some travel time. I'm making a mess of this. But there's the shot. You'll notice that in the intro as well. But yeah, apparently that was smooth. I don't think there was anything smooth about that. But there is a Death Stranding 2 coming out, and I'm a bit like, I don't need another one in my life. And I thought Kojima never wanted sequels. That's kind of, he never wanted to do a sequel for Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear in itself. But he seems tied to doing a Death Stranding 2, which, yeah. I'd personally like to see Kojima do lots of different games at this point and not get bogged down in a series, but it's his choice. 60 is still going strong, isn't it? So we shall see. But speaking of Kojima, there he is, the bloke himself. That's who we've rescued. Not the first time Kojima put himself in his game. Of course, he's in Peace Walker. And he's even in the Twin Snakes remake, I think, as like a portrait that starts laughing in the background. So definitely not a shy man for putting himself in his own content. But yeah, we give him his glasses, and depending on how well you've played, you'll get a certain voice line. So if he says, "What took you so long? You didn't get S." If he says this,
that was perfect.
You know you got an S rank. So as I heard that, I knew I got it. But yeah, that was another edition of the Recall Files, a bit of a short one like the Siphon Filter 2. I hope you enjoyed it, guys, and I'll see you next week.